Your eyes do not deceive you. We are in fact back on Europa Universalis 4, even in the big 26 after EU5 has released. Kinda just waiting for EU5 to stand on its own 2 feet, which might take until at least February. We'll see. But of course, when I say we're back on EU4, what I actually mean is that we're back on Anbennar. See, I never actually fulfilled my promise of playing every single fantasy race in the mod. We still have a handful to go, including the one which might be the most requested, the Harpies. Harpies are one of the more interesting fantasy races in Anbennar, in my opinion, because they face a very unique biological reality, which is that all Harpies are always born female. And so because of this, Harpies are kind of forced to, if they rule over a population, they always need to have a source of a non-Harpy population within their empire. This creates an interesting hierarchy dynamic in Harpy societies because there are no gender roles among a Harpy society. Instead, it all has to do with sort of rank within the flock, and usually Harpies are at the top while all the other races are at the bottom and just kind of kept around out of necessity. This has led to a number of different Harpy societies in Anbennar and the ways that they deal with this biological reality they have, and this is often reflected in the kinds of government types and mission trees that Harpy countries in the game have. Like, for example, Nalani is a pirate Harpy country where they abduct people from ships to keep them around so that they can continue growing the Harpy population. The Valkyrie Harpies have an agreement with the Jarldoms to try and push back the trolls in the north, so that's their whole thing. There are more examples, more Harpies in the world, but we could just get started with one of these two here. We have Mulan and Siadan. I have actually played Siadan, and that's the one we're going to play today. But there's also Mulan, and these two actually have very different mission trees. So if you don't like Siadan, which is much more aggressive and more like a stratified society and like kind of the bad guys at some point, then you can also play Mulan, which is more about like trading and building up the area. But we're going to be a little bit evil today. Unlike with a lot of the countries we have played in Anbennar so far, the Siadan Harpies don't actually have too much history to them. The general region here, Bulwar, actually does have quite a bit of history, and I will go ahead and actually turn these on real quick. Now, we are in a region known as Bulwar, not technically its own continent, but sort of recognized as its own independent thing. It is the birthplace of humanity and also the birthplace of the Phoenix Empire. So when the elves fled after their disaster in Elantir, they came over to this half of the world, of course. And one of the areas they ended up settling was in Bulwar, which is why we have a bunch of desert elves over here, some sun elves over here. And so shortly after they arrived, they actually conquered a massive area reaching from like all the way over here into, I think, pretty deep into Rahen. But that was like 300 years ago at this point. The second Phoenix Empire was created, but never really got nearly as far. Until eventually, I think they're called the Phoenix Legion or the Desert Legion. They moved over here to the east. This is actually what Jadari is. So they are a legion of the remaining Phoenix Empire. They've had a little bit of like a religious thing going on, so they actually don't worship the Sun Cult anymore. They're now the Jad. They're going to try and recreate kind of the Phoenix Empire, but it's not going to be quite the Phoenix Empire. Looking at the in-game mechanics we have, we are a tribal flock. In particular, we are a Harpy matriarchy, which means we cannot expel humans, we cannot purge humans, the ruler has a harem, and we do not have consorts. So the harem mechanic, I think, just allows us to pick a new heir. Then we have improved stability cost, improved yearly legitimacy, and we can fabricate claims for subjects. Those are the main parts. Now, we are still considered monstrous by most countries. Harpies are, for the most part, still like just sort of marauders or raiders. Siadan, for the most part, has sort of sustained itself off of raiding caravans for wealth and for captives, that kind of thing. We also follow the Mina Doctrine, but I'm not actually sure what that is. Might have something to do with the religious mechanics, which we'll get to in a second. But now we get to what I think is the most interesting part of Harpies, which is their unique mechanics. Harpies also have a very hierarchical society, and we can see that as well. So we have envoy travel time because they're fast, governing capacity modifier, kind of part of that hierarchy. Improved relations. Harpies are known for being able to sing well. They have an affinity for using their voice, either for singing or for shrieking attacks. to disorient their enemy. More maximum absolutism, liberty desire and subject reduction, liberty desire from subject development reduction. That's all, of course, from their hierarchical society, and then chance of a new heir, I guess, just from the harem. It goes without saying that all of our generals are going to be female as well, but in exchange, it's difficult to build things, so we have increased build cost and time, because Harpies are not very strong. National tax reduction, I'm not too sure what that's about, and then the advisor cost as well, not too sure what that's about. But for the military, we can see this expressed pretty well with increased movement speed for the entire army, reduced shock damage received, increased fire damage, reduced land attrition, increased siege ability, increased chance to capture enemy ships. You can imagine Harpies just flying over to other ships to capture them. And most interestingly, Harpy infantry flanking range. This is typically a stat that's reserved exclusively for cavalry in EU4. So the fact that the Harpies get it for their infantry is really interesting. Then we have reduced artillery combat, increased morale damage received, reduced fort defense, increased fort maintenance, and reduced morale of navies. In terms of the religious mechanic, the hunt is just sort of like a set of traditional beliefs. So by default, we get land leader, shock, and maneuver, but it works kind of like Hangry a little bit in base EU4, where you have the syncretic faith. You can choose to have a second religion sort of as your main religion as well, in quotes, plus you get a couple of bonuses. So for example, like the Jad might be useful for that, to get missionary strength and to tolerate them more. In fact, it might be the first one we go with, just because of how large it is. And then we have all of these religious abilities where, you know, you build up religious power, sort of as a consequence of your religious unity and your monarch points, and then you can spend them on various things. I think they actually changed all of these. I'm not familiar with any of these, so maybe they changed them in the last update. I haven't played Harpies in a while, so we'll take a look at those as we need them. For our rivals, we're going to pick up Verkal Gulan, we're going to pick up Elayana, and we're going to pick up Mulain for now. And the first thing we want to do after dealing with our estates, we want the manpower. We do want Mantalco, which will give us tolerance of heathens +4, super important. Also refunds half of the prestige cost from picking a secondary faith. And then just to make them happy, we're also going to give them share of spoils. Mages are always a little bit harder to please. I think we're going to go ahead and give them a few things. In particular, I think what we're looking for most is, actually, I think we want to sell some titles. We're going to give you governing capacity, and we're going to give you patronage of the magical arts. And I might also give them reduced research regulations, because their diplomatic reputation already sucks. I don't think this is going to change. Well, we can fix it at some point, probably. But we'll go ahead and also seize land off of that. The first thing for us to do is increase ourselves to the force limit. Actually, it might be cheaper for us to do that through just picking up mercenaries. Now, technically, we shouldn't be allowed to do this because a month hasn't passed yet, but we're going to do it anyway. Of course, we can get the Matriarch in charge, and we just need to wait a couple of days. For 300 years, Siadan has sat idle, hiding along the edge of the Salahad in destitution, picking over the scraps of caravans like vultures. We are not vultures. We are Harpies, and Harpies do not settle for scraps. Astarta has signed a pact of blood, and the flock prepares for war. Let us call the banners, ready our spears, and march to reclaim our destiny with one word on their lips, Siadanlin. We get a bunch of permanent claims. We get a subjugation CB on Verkal Gulan. Those are the dwarves over here. I think actually what we should do, instead of going to war with the dwarves, is we are going to start a monstrous conquest CB against Mulain. We do have a couple of cores and a bunch of claims, so I think this is probably best for us. It's ideal if we can fight them in the desert, because we don't really want to fight in the mountains too much. Finishing this battle should be pretty easy. Perfect. Okay, we're going to set the mercenaries to go sit on there for a second while we siege the rest of this. Right, we do actually have an extra merchant. We would move more money, or we could simply try to collect a little bit. Okay, that's a new one. Okay. So usually Jadari wins this. At least I'm pretty sure. Maybe they changed that. Maybe they don't usually win it anymore. Right, I actually forgot to mention, because we talked about Siadanlan briefly. Siadanlan used to be the Harpy Empire that briefly existed over, I think it was like generally this area, maybe a little bit larger. So it was the Desert Legion that actually destroyed Siadanlan, pushed the Harpies back into the hills, where we have the remaining rump state, Siadan. So we have this whole thing about the Matriarch realizing Jadari is shattered, Jadar is dead. However, with Zokka's victory, there might be worse problems. Clearly, the Gnolls do not care to share their spoils equally, despite the blood pact that was signed. So now, what do? We If we remain complacent, which was our prior weakness, then we can expect the gnolls to overrun us at some point as well. So the Matriarch Astarta concludes, for Siadanlin to arise, Siadan must change. We must once again go on the march. And with the fall of Mamrigan, we can fully annex the rest of the Harpies here. And more than that, we can claim the crest of Ishtara. With Milan shattered, Siadan once again stands as the undisputed true heir to the Siadunan legacy. And befitting the new Siadan that does not stand idle and does not wait for its destiny to come to it, the Matriarch has decided to do away with the useless tradition of only adding to the crest of Ishtara on the ascension of a new leader. Instead, its glory will grow tall with the blood of our enemies. So we actually get this crest of Ishtara for the rest of the game. It is an upgradable modifier, reducing our stability cost and prestige decay while giving us more yearly legitimacy. And on top of that, we get a bunch of claims on the former Jadari lands. Since the war between Jadari and Zokka is principally over, but not technically, it's complicated. Eliana has kind of taken control over the remaining legion. So they were once a subject, but they now become the master over Jadari. So these two are actually still technically at war, but the point is, we may have missed the battle, but the war is not over. The entire flock moves south as one mass, talons out and ready to face their deaths or their destiny. Siadan is on the march. We get reduction in economic modifiers like production efficiency and tax modifiers. We also lose all reform progress growth. It becomes more expensive to reduce war exhaustion, but we get more manpower recovery speed, and increased land force limit. In addition, we declare war against Jadari. And our objective here, now that we've just defeated their army, is to basically occupy as much as possible. So we're going to send one unit there. We're just going to split them into as many units as possible, and just make sure that we can stake our claim on all of their territory. We should be faster than the gnolls simply by being Harpies. Alright, so now we can just go ahead and fully annex them both. Jadar posed the greatest threat to Siadan since the rise of his grandfather Jaher. That was the guy that created the first Phoenix Empire. It's time to destroy the power of the Desert Elves once and for all so that they can never represent a threat to Siadan again. And then let us add another feather to the crest of Ishtara, a symbol to our victory. We lose some war exhaustion, we upgrade our crest, and we get some permanent claims. Now, about that blood pact that we signed with Zokka. Zokka has succeeded, so it is time for us to talk with them, figure out the future of this blood pact. When Zokka shattered Jadar's host, many expected the victory to begin a new age of monsters, and for Siadan to rise to its former prosperity and glory. However, the upper echelons of the Siadani state knew the truth. Zokka's will was to rule over all, and Siadan was soon to be eclipsed by him. So now we're forced to make a choice. Should we stand idly by while Zokka secures his eastern border and eventually attempts to subjugate us, or should we force Zokka to bend the knee through force of arms? We break our alliance and we get a subjugation CB on Zokka for the next 20 years. We might as well declare Zokka a rival at this point. We're pretty much destined to go to war with one another. As for other rivals, I guess it doesn't really matter too much, as long as it's not somebody who is in the Raj. So I guess Davharl isn't a bad idea. We're going to give ourselves some time before we actually go to war with Zokka, though. We do have a truce, so that's at least, the 5 years we have to wait. And now we'll declare war against the dwarves. We'll use the subjugation CB against them. The only question is, are the troops going to be good enough to actually fight the dwarves? Maybe. We'll have to find out. Ooh, excellent opportunity. Okay, they just fought some rebels in their capital. We're gonna go ahead and press the advantage then. Beautiful. Could not have asked for a better sequence of events. I'm pretty sure specifically in Anbennar, being a general doesn't increase the chance of your leader dying. I think they had to finagle some of the code for that, but I'm pretty sure turning our heir into a commander doesn't increase the risk. At least not passively. They can still die on a siege or in a battle. That being said, this is a pretty solid commander. She's going to help us deal with the Jadari Rebellion, which is going to be down here. Ah, shoot. That's too slow to win. Nonetheless, should be fine for the most part. There we go. And then the Mulani Separatists, which are going to be in here. So the dwarves, we're going to turn them into a vassal. We're going to steal Hero's Veil. Actually, I don't think we need to steal Hero's Veil. Just vassalize them, do that for extra prestige, and then we get pretty much free money out of that. The Hero's Vale is a long contested territory between the flux of the Far Salahad and the Gold Dwarves of Verkal Gulan. So while we did subjugate Verkal Gulan for the most part, we're kind of here for Hero's Vale. We can't really make use of anything in the Serpent Spine ourselves, since we are not a subterranean race. We might actually be like the least subterranean, other than maybe the Centaurs. So Verkal Gulan is going to handle our assets in the Serpent Spine for us. But we are going to take Hero's Vale. We take it, they lose a core on it, it becomes Siadan and Harpy, changes its religion to the Hunt, it's renamed, we lose some Diplo, but then of course we do actually have to core this. And then we're going to try to get them to like us, which is going to take a while. I could have fully annexed and released them, but I feel like it is kind of against the spirit of the tree because we did get the subjugation CB. Now, you'll notice I'm moving down here, and that's for good reason. That's because right now Zokka is at war with Davharel, and I would like to take Davharel so that Zokka doesn't, try to fight the Raj or something. I don't know what they would try to do, but basically this should be mine. I'm kind of relying on our really good general to win this fight for us because we have worse tech, but we have excellent units, a really good general, so that's going to be ours now. Yeah, we have the force limit for this. Okay, I'm going to hire some more troops. And we have taken Davharel, although I don't think we can actually take it yet. Someone else is already on the capital. I don't really feel like sitting here and waiting for them to siege it, since we're not going to get anything out of that, so we're just going to take this. Oh, I've just noticed actually, you have holdings down here. Congratulations, you get to keep that, because I don't really care that much. Now, with that, we could embrace feudalism, but I think it would be cheaper for us if we wait until we core this stuff. Maybe it actually doesn't make it cheaper. Oh, right, because the cost is from the provinces that have not yet embraced it. Of course, I should know this. Okay, anyway, we'll embrace feudalism. We'll pick up the next Miltech. And then all of the territories that we've conquered, we're actually going to go ahead and reduce autonomy in each one, because they're probably going to revolt anyway. After a certain number of years, we might as well get this out of the way while we aren't in a soul-crushing life or death war. And then, of course, now we can sell titles. And then really what I should have done from the start is probably focus on military. We are going to do that right now, just so we can pick up military tech and get ahead. Oh, right, let's not forget actually. We do want to choose a syncretic faith. And that syncretic faith is going to be probably the Jad just for now, because we're going to integrate it. And then we'll make it Jazub Cult. Although our truce with Zokka is ending pretty soon, I think it's better for us to wait until we pick up the new military tech. We also just don't really have that much admin, and we're going to have to core things anyway. So I think it would be nice if we could get Verkal Gulan to help us in this war, so we are going to placate them to get them below 60, so we can finish this off. Now, we did inflict a great shame upon the Gold Dwarves, but that doesn't need to define our relationship. While they are still subjects, we can rule with a benevolent hand. So we can get ourselves an increased tolerance of dwarves, they get 100 opinion of us, we get a dwarven minority size in the capital, and we get +1 base production. This is going to make them loyal enough to help us fight this war. Speaking of which, we can pick up Miltech 4, that's the one for tactics and morale, so of course we can actually begin this war. It's not going to be an easy one. We do need to declare war for subjugation, meaning we do have to take the capital to enforce vassalage. They are also allied to these gnolls over here, and also the gnolls down here. They have 2 subjects here and here. So this is going to be interesting, but probably doable. Now, the way we actually want to fight this is to have them come to us so that we can fight them ideally in the mountains. In fact, I believe the first thing we should do is move down here. We'll use these units as bait, and we'll have you scorch earth right here. We do have one advantage, which is that we are faster than the gnolls. So if there's any opportunity we get to pick off an army, in fact, we should get that opportunity for 1 stack here. But the way we're going to do it is, first we're going to pick up a religious action. And I think the one we're going to pick is probably Seek Conflict. We get a year of manpower and 15% morale damage for the next 5 years. I think that's the best one for combat. We could get 10 years of 15% manpower recovery speed, but at that point we already have plus like 45%, so it's not as big of a bonus as it seems. You used to be able to give yourself like a year of 40% movement speed or something, but they did rework the religion, so I think this is the best we could pick up. Yeah, so we're just going to pick up this army real quick. Not all is lost here. We get here on the 28th. We should be able to have a battle. Oh, actually, if we get there on the 28th of the next month. If we wait a whole month, then of course they can get there. So now they're locked in. They're moving over here. They should get there just before we do. There we go. So now we're just fighting 9,000 troops. We can go in here and just deal with these. Nice and easy stack wipe. Such is the advantage we get from being Harpies. Our battles are quick and decisive, so anybody caught out of line will be crushed. I guess we could also ask the mages to cast something. A broad ward isn't the worst idea. It's relatively cheap. Just 25% local defensiveness on all of our forts. Especially useful because, of course, we're Harpies. We get minus 10% defensiveness. So we stack it up a little bit and we should have some decent defensiveness on that fort. Loans are fine. We're going to get some money soon. In fact, we should probably sell titles. Now we engage these guys. Not quite the stack wipe I was hoping for, but it would be worse. Oh, Zokka's dead actually. Okay, new Zokka in charge. Just so happens that every time a new person comes to charge in Zokka, they're also named Zokka. So Zokka, son of Zokka. Also a powerful mage, it seems. But yeah, Zokka is dead. It may look like we're losing this war from the war score, but of course we're just trading territory for casualties. Just a typical guerrilla warfare scenario. Oh, and we have someone new actually joining the fight here. Haragteda also now fighting Zokka. Very useful for us. At this point, it might even be a good idea to go to their capital, just to make sure that we actually get to have the siege on it. We are kind of crushing their army along the way. They've pretty much crumbled at this point. Their allies are going to betray them soon. Oh, okay, that's really annoying, man. Okay, listen, maybe what we do actually is we let those two fight. We're gonna let these guys fight over here, ideally. I didn't realize they were gonna get there that fast. That was like 3 months, just straight to the capital. Okay, in that case, those two can fight. We are going to siege. Slugt is actually willing to leave this war. That's perfect. We don't really want to take anything from them. In fact, I'm mostly interested in getting like a white piece, and then maybe I can attack them again later. But for now, we just need to finish this war because we're kind of weak. Kass will also leave. That's perfect. Okay, Zokka's actually sieged their capital back. That's very nice of them to do that. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then we can crush their last army. Now, their capital's fallen. We're going to probably just subjugate them. Boy, that's a lot of aggressive expansion, but it's just among gnolls, so it's not a big deal. We just have to take a little bit more. In the meantime, we can pick up the next military technology, since, of course, the Renaissance is not going to spread to us for quite some time. Okay, our heir has actually died. That's unfortunate. Although with the harem system, I don't think it's going to matter too much. We should relatively soon get a choice of a new heir. But anyway, this war is pretty much over. We'll just pick this up. Alright, Zokka, our new vassal. While Zokka was admirable, it will be Siadan, not the gnolls, who will ascend to glory and greatness, whose wings will spread across Halan and usher in an age of monsters. The Blood Pact has been redefined, and our allies reminded of their place in the shade. It will make useful auxiliaries in the wars to come. Lose 5 war exhaustion, that's nice. We make Zokka into a march. Bar Bulwar is ceded to us, and Zokka, fortunately for them, does get a couple of bonuses. 10,000 manpower increase, 10 force limit, and 10% liberty desire. They do also get some claims for us to conquer for them. But yeah, we get a lot of stuff. We've been running into more and more problems as the borders of Siadan expand, and the Matriarch knows that an army is just as vulnerable to defeat off the battlefield as on it. Should we not fix this growing problem, Siadan may fracture before we can achieve our glory. Let us grant greater powers to the different flocks of Siadan, so that they may better govern our territory. A patchwork measure, to be sure, but a necessary one. We get minus 10% core creation cost, minus 5% loyalty from the tribal flocks, but they do get 15% influence. Yeah, we are going to have to core all of this stuff, which is quite a bit. Okay, new heir. 545 sounds good to me. They do follow different doctrines. Okay, so this one's the Eagle Doctrine. Cool. We can also take back some territory. That's a good idea. Just to make sure we don't have to take out more loans, I will sell some titles. Okay, we can pick another religious action. Now, we could decide to give us 30 progress towards the next institution in all provinces with a Harpy Roost. That's because we have the Mina Doctrine. Maybe costs 100, not too sure. But I feel like if we build this up to 40, and then we get 2 of those, it should be fine. Now, we don't have that many points, so most of this is going to be in military points, which we have an excess of, and besides, we want more military dev anyway, so we can have more manpower, more troops, that kind of thing. Now, you'll notice it's pretty cheap. That's because we have a roost in this province, so despite it being a mountain, it's completely offset. And then of course it is a flourishing roost. Not sure what stage this is in terms of like how good it is, but at the very least it does give us another minus 10%, so it isn't that expensive. Right, for our religion, I think we're going to swap away from the Jad to Jazob cult. We might as well get some progress to the next institution. We get reduced tech cost, reduced idea cost, and 30 progress to the next institution. So there we go. We'll just bump this up to around 70 ideally, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, now we do not have a lot of money. In fact, we've taken out 2 loans at this point, but we kind of need to continue going to war. And the war we'll be declaring is this one. Now, it's not a great war to be fighting. Bivari is typically pretty strong just because they have a massive trade node and get a bunch of money from it, but I think we can probably maybe fight this. First we'll deal with this guy, should be pretty quick. There we go. Oh, you came out of nowhere, hold on. Okay, decent fights. We'll just send you back to here to recover. We do need money to fund this war, so we're going to sell titles. Not the greatest battle because they did get to reinforce, but still looking kind of okay. In fact, we should be able to pick off this army. Could take Miltech 6. I just don't think it's necessary to win this war. Well, that's an interesting decision. They want to naval land behind my fort to lock themselves behind my fort. That is definitely one of the naval landings of all time. Well, there goes the Matriarch. She was actually in charge of the army, which creates a slight problem for us. Although really only a slight problem because we have a lot of army tradition. There we go, not a bad leader at all. There we go, quick stack wipe. And the enemy is not that strong anymore. Oh lovely, another stability hit, that's great. Okay, we're now no longer ahead of time on tech. We could wait, but it's probably another 7 to 10 years before we can actually embrace this institution. So we'll just pick it up. Okay, the command is actually at war with the Raj right now. I know at some point we are kind of expected to become friends with the command, which I'm always a little uneasy about doing, but they could be useful to us. We're going to try and catch Bivari on this province maybe, see if they'll actually cross, that is. In the meantime, we're pushing through here quite nicely, getting a bunch of territory, so we can get some money at least. Oh hello, random exiled army. That's kind of annoying. Alright, so what if we get you to enable attach, and I need you to attach to me like right now? Or, I mean, we can do it that way too. Okay, so from these guys, we're going to ask for money, war reps. I don't really care about much else. The capital of Bivari has fallen, and if I play my cards right on this, I might be able to wipe them only because... Oh no, they have Tech 6 as well, okay. Well, in that case, we're going to ask for money, war reparations, and we'll see. Oh, there we go, now they're willing to attack. Good fight there. We should maybe... Yeah, now we can get full war reps and money. The rest, I couldn't possibly care less about. There we go. Of course, with all that money, we can pay off our loans. Half of old Siadan lay across the Paravimvata under Ishtara. Of course, lost when Jahar shattered Siadan, but now we have a new opportunity. With the command conquering westwards and us conquering eastwards, we may be able to strike an agreement. Today we can see that the command are our betters, but one day they will be our equal. We lose 2 war exhaustion, we get a bunch of permanent claims, and the command gets an event for a potential alliance. The command is a state much like our own. Nearly the entire ruling populace has been marshaled for war as they march ever forward for glory. This is not the future of Siadan, a state that hopefully will strive for more than just military conquest. But the shadow of the command looms large, and its resources and manpower are undoubtedly key to Siadan's rise to that destined state. As the Matriarch's blood signs the Pact, she cannot shake the knowledge that this pact is not one signed between equals, and that eventually, one day, Harpy and Hobgoblin blood may mix together on the field of battle. We add trust towards one another, Siadan's opinion of the command increases, we increase our tolerance of Hobgoblins, they increase tolerance of Harpies, and both of our capitals get a minority of the reciprocal race. Now, seemingly this does give us an alliance, so that's cool. If we do seek to take down the Raj, we are going to need the command's help. Right now, they're not actually at war with the Raj, but at some point we may have to call them in if we want to fight them. But at the very least, we can assume that our eastern flank is temporarily secure. So we're going to shift our attention to the west. starting with Azkasur. Now, because our new doctrine is the Eagle Doctrine, this one, if we activate our religious ability again, Seeking Secrets, we actually only get 20 progress to the next institution. So we are going to click this, but what that means is we aren't going to put any more points into this. I already put a couple extra. We'll just wait for the next cooldown to be done, and then we'll run it again. Now, we're actually going to be declaring war against Sariand, and the reason for that is because it's going to call in Azkasur, which we will be able to annex without having to fight Segdir. And their subject here is pretty much nothing, so it doesn't really matter. We do actually need provinces from both of them, so it's a pretty convenient war. The enemy only has Miltech 5, so we should be able to quick in and out, kind of destroy their armies, hopefully. There we go, nice little stack wipe there. I was gonna say it's been a pretty chill war. The enemy has been too afraid to do anything, but hey, we have this guy deciding to declare war. Thank you for that. Actually, can I just declare war on you? Not the greatest idea, but I'll keep that in the back pocket. At the very least, we might want to start looking at moving some of our own troops into locations where we can start to occupy things that we need. Like, this is very, very important for us. Okay, we've crushed their armies, sieged their fort, we're occupying the stuff we need. So even despite our setbacks, we should be fine. Okay, now with the capital sieged, we can go ahead and... Actually, can I take everything I want here? No. Okay, we'll do it this way then. We'll fully annex these guys. It'll cost a little bit more, but that's fine. It's not that much. The Sun Elves destroyed Siadan land all those years ago, but now it seems that even their power is in freefall. Corruption, moral and martial decay, the time is ripe for us to march west. Some whisper of a coming age of eclipse, dark days ahead for the lands of Bulwar, and they would be right. May our feathers block out the sun. We lose 3 war exhaustion, we get a permanent claim on Far Bulwar, and for 20 years we get -1 Diplo reputation, but minus 10% province war score cost. Might as well finish this one as well. We are bound in blood to our allies in Zokka. However, the recent conflict between us, the forced renegotiation, as our propagandists have taken to calling it, has resulted in us occupying a large amount of territory populated by gnolls, which would be better served under our control. Let us propose an equal exchange between us and Zokka. We get the lands formerly settled by them, and they get a few more troops. So we do lose 150 Diplo power, we lose some tolerance of gnolls, but we are going to lose 3 war exhaustion and replace gnolls north of Iakorzo with Harpies in the highlands and Serrani humans elsewhere. So we'll take a look at the culture map mode, we click this, and these are pretty much the changes. Now we'll go ahead and take what we need. It is going to be unpopular, but I think most of these countries are a little bit preoccupied, the ones that don't hate me at least, so they won't do much, probably. Now we can turn ourselves into a duchy. That's a good start. Let's make sure to focus on admin from now on. After all, we have a lot of things to core. Oh, hello there, command. I don't know if I'm looking to fight this war. This is not ideal. I mean, the Raj does seem particularly weak. I don't really want to fight this, but we do want to keep our alliance with the command, so I guess we don't have much of a choice. There's not really all too much fighting we actually have to do here. Oh, okay. I guess that leaves us with 1 guy, and they gave me nothing, and now I have nothing. Okay. Well, I wanted to take money from the Raj. Can't do that, so this was a completely pointless war, I think. We actually got nothing out of that. Gonna drown my sorrows in some gambling real quick. Come on, blue. 30 crowns. It's cooked. Right, well, we can sell titles. We'll take some land back, at least it's something. We do have 1 more religious action to take. Of course, so that's going to start spreading. It's going to take... Okay, it's getting to a point with this taxation. Minus 50% is crazy. I know I'm not helping it with the crown land ownership, but like, damn. We're actually getting half of the taxes we should be getting. Which means if we hire this tax guy, it might actually give us like a solid amount of money back. Still expensive, of course, but I do need them for this mission anyway. Okay, we do actually have a slight problem from our capital being low development, and that is that we need more of our development to have embraced the institution. Funny enough, I think it's actually the easiest for us to do this simply by developing the capital more. So you can try to run from it, but eventually you'll have to develop the capital anyway. There we go, and that is horrifically expensive. Damn. Well, it's not like we have much of a choice. We don't even get good loans because we have no good estates for that, so we're just going to have to take out regular loans. Now, before we declare this next war, we have finished this mission off. There is a more trivial side to our conquests. paperwork. The bureaucracy must expand to meet the needs of the expanding bureaucracy, or something. With Siadan's borders expanding by the day, soldiers must be allocated, supply lines drawn, edicts issued, and we require an administration that is up to the task of handling all that busy work. The tribes have proved worthy of a patchwork measure, but in truth, we need some sort of professional core who can stand above petty tribal squabbles. So we upgrade our patchwork administration, that's this modifier up here, into the marching administration. We keep our core creation cost reduction, but we get governing capacity and province war score cost reduction. Also makes the tribes happier, gives them less influence, so that's nice. Now, we're going to go to war with this guy down here, just to take his stuff. Not that it's something we really need for a mission, but because I have a truce with the Raj, and that's going to last for the next 4 or so years, so we might as well just do something. Alright, now let's pick up the next few techs. We'll pick up this, and we'll pick up that. Oh, what do you know? Okay, so every now and then Davharl will just get an institution. Apparently it goes from Sariand over here. Apparently it picks up and then just transfers over. What do you know? There are a few things like that actually. Like it enters into Brissan from, I think it's this port. Yeah, this connects all the way back to, I think it's Port Jaher? Yeah. So institutions can actually go from here into here, I think pretty much instantly or very quickly. And then I guess it goes from here into here and then here into here. So the Renaissance can actually spread a lot quicker than I thought it would. Just got the award for the unluckiest siege I think I've ever gotten. We just failed a 42% after failing, I think it was 35% in a row. Probably a good idea to pick up a lottery ticket with that kind of luck. Oh, it only just gets better. Another failed 42%. Let's see if we can keep this going. Tragically, we did have to take it at some point. Okay, so I would like to take everything. We'll just wait for them to give up. Because, I mean, this guy, literally just an island. Can't do much about that. There we go. I'll just go ahead and concentrate development in the capital, and then I will core each of these. But I think I'm going to turn this into a trade company, actually. I think I'd like to move my merchant from Eastern Salahad over to here so we can start moving some trade this direction and then up into Eastern Salahad. Thankfully, we can sell a few titles and take some land back so that we don't have as many loans. I know we still have a taxation problem, but it could be worse. Now, there are a few ways we want to do this, I think, because we do need to eventually take Edus Vasin. However, they are allied with Irlium and Varamhar, two of the large powers in Bulwar, and I don't really feel like fighting them. So instead, we're going to declare war on Harklum, which just brings in Edus Vasin. We'll break those alliances and then come back. But actually, we also need territory from Tlugt, and they're allied with Nolakaz. Now, Nolakaz just finished a war, but for the time being, they're not willing to accept this call to arms. And I also don't really want to fight them. So if we want to get this territory from Tlugt, this stuff down here, which we actually do need, then we might as well start with them, then declare war on Harklum. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. Now, finally, we're going to pick up Admin Tech 5 for a mill idea group. I'm thinking we would benefit a lot from offensive ideas for the siege ability, the discipline, the leader pips as well. Okay, Tlugt has no army, it's just Ireland, so we're going to move up to Harklum, and we might as well get this started once we get a little closer. Well, that would be perfect, actually, more tax. Okay, let's get this war started. If we have to pick one of these actions, we might as well make it the 1.5 years of manpower plus 20% morale damage. Okay, so, Edus Vasin. Actually, I guess I could annex you, couldn't I? It's just a lot of aggressive expansion that I don't think is worth it. So, you're gonna break your alliances with these two, and then your money would be useful, but it does also delay me finishing this mission. Not that it's particularly important. Okay, you know what? That's fine. As long as the truce is shorter than 10 years. We'll take that, of course, and we'll take this. Ireland is now willing to leave, but it is what it is. As for Tlugt, we're actually not going to fully annex them, and that's because they have Sariand as a tributary subject, and I don't want to inherit their tributary. I'd much rather just invade it in like 5 years. So, they get to live. Congratulations. We're going to take all this stuff, pretty much all their territory plus all their money, and then it might surprise you to hear we're actually going to release a subject. That's going to be the one down here in Krahaga. Now, the reason for that is because we do actually need Dungab, but I don't really feel like fighting Nolakaz over that. Krahaga does have this as a core, so if we release them, then we become friends with Nolakaz and kindly ask them to transfer the one province, then we should be able to complete this mission. And on top of that, we can have them do a little bit of coring for us. Most of this land is Sandfang Knoll and their religion anyway. I'm just going to make sure that I keep the stuff that I want, which is up here, mostly this one gold mine. And then this is going to tank the Diplo a little bit, because we'll have too many relations, but we are going to try and ally Nolakas. Now I'm sensing a little bit of weakness in the Raj here. I think these guys were actually popped out of the Raj by the command in that last war. So I think we could declare war on them, only go to war with this guy over here, maybe use that to break their alliance with Denijan Raj, and then we might have a real shot of actually attacking these guys. Maybe. That's a lot of troops. Pretty big maybe. Okay, well at least the command is done with what they're doing. I'm kinda hoping that they don't look at me and say, hey man, you wanna join a war that we start? Because we kinda did that last time and I wanna call them in this time. I'm just not exactly in the greatest position to fight this right now. Just in case, I will start a spy network in the Denijan Raj. Okay, the command has started a new war. Fortunately, not against the Denijan Raj. Alright, so these guys we'll just beat up real quick. Easy stack wipe. And then I guess we might as well sell titles. Sure. These guys are willing to give up in exchange for war reps, money, and break that alliance. Okay, maybe not. About now. Yes, I just have to refresh it. Perfect. Okay, sounds good to me. And then we can just finish this off. And then we'll wait 1 day for a slight bit of crown power, or crown land, I guess, and then seize land. Now, Nolakas, you want the institution. You know what I want from you? One little piece of territory. Do you think you could do that? 9 favors. Okay, soon. You know what? Sure, you can have this in the meantime. Oh, you're getting on my nerves a little bit, man. Okay, listen. Yes, but I'm gonna have to ask for money at some point probably, or something. I don't know, man. I have so many favors with you already, and I don't even know what to spend them on. Because you're always at war. Like, there's nothing to call you into because you're always busy. Okay, fine. Just because we have to keep this alliance. But listen, man, we're gonna trade this for trust, okay? And then I'm probably gonna leave that war soon. Okay, let's see. It has been over 12 months. All right, we're leaving this. Thank you. Okay, Nolakas, I would like you to return this core province. Thank you very much. Now, actually, you've been costing me way more Diplo than I'd like to admit. So we're actually gonna break that alliance. Oh, right. So, in Harpy society, the relationship between fathers and their Harpy daughters is not as simple. Many Harpies just never meet their fathers, or their fathers just don't really care that much. But our heir would like to meet her father, and hopefully we have a good outcome because I think it boosts her stats. And they hit it off. Okay, perfect. So once she becomes the matriarch, I think is when she gets the extra stats. So that's nice. Right, more loans, we'll repay those. And then the truce with Sariend is up. They are still technically a tributary. Yeah, I didn't think Tulukt would defend them. Alright, we'll take all that. A couple of countries don't like it very much, but that's probably fine. They're a little too busy killing each other, I think. Let's see, at this point, we could pick up maybe something for money. 10 years of 10% national tax and income from vassals. 50 crowns per 100 combined development of you, plus your non-tributary subjects. That would be a decent bit of money. What is that, 300 crowns? Not bad. Yeah, we'll take that actually. Fortunately, the command is done one of their wars, and the command also has like 50 trillion aggressiveness on its AI. Personality of the leader is also militarist, so this is a bit of a gamble. But I think we can expect the command to declare war against the Raj if we declare against the Raj first. What I'm mostly afraid of is them declaring war on them before I do, and then calling me in, and then wasting my time. And I don't want that. So, we're gonna do a bit of gambling, everyone's favorite. We are going to declare war against these guys for monstrous conquest. It's gonna call in a couple of people. Some of them are actually relatively strong. Not ideal, but they're just allied to the Denijan Raj, so we can't really do much about that. But yeah, this should be doable, maybe. Right, because of the way the Raj works, even though we declare war on this guy, it doesn't actually call in all of these people. And we kind of do want to fight them as well, just so that we don't have to fight like 7 wars against the Raj. That's probably a good idea. Even though we gain 3 war exhaustion and lose 50 Diplo, I'm kind of okay with that. Now, the way we're going to fight this war in the short term, while we wait for the command to, in theory, declare war, or at the very least we get enough favors to call them in or something, is it's going to be like completely defensive. Fortunately, Denijan Raj here has a technology level of 5, and we have a technology level of 7. So we'll Scorch Earth here, and we'll just kind of wait for them to go back and forth. Let's not forget, we would like to Scorch Earth pretty much all this stuff, and then we just go back and forth, and we slap a couple armies as long as they don't reinforce me. Okay, there we go. I kind of assumed they would fight them. Glad to know I still know enough about this game. Right, we can definitely pay that off. Good thing I picked Show Superiority because, damn, that's a lot of battles. Let me just get my subjects on supportive. Let's not forget, we'd probably like to Scorch this as well. Actually, I'm kind of okay with these guys if they wanted to do this, because then we just get to fight them on the mountain. Beautiful. More Haramari for the meat grinder. Yeah, not looking so good for those guys. Ooh, 3, 4, 5. I mean, they're strictly better in a technical sense, but I do like Scholar, and she might get additional points when she becomes a Matriarch. So I don't think that's the best idea. The war's going pretty alright. I might send half my army back to the west, actually, to deal with this. Now, with the Raj armies pretty much shattered, and both we and the command are still invading them, I think we just need to take this one fort, and then technically we can take like everything here, which I think pretty much coincides with what I need. Oh, I actually need a lot more. Okay, well, we'll just take as much as possible then. The aggressive expansion doesn't really matter that much, because I mean, ultimately most of those countries are within the Raj itself. Some of them aren't, but then we're allied to the command, so it doesn't matter that much. I am pretty fortunate that every single general I hire is insanely good. Well, I wouldn't say exactly fortunate. Every single one of our generals does get +3 pips. Now, it looks to me like most of the Raj subjects are disloyal, meaning that they're not really going to help Benejan Raj. Pretty useful for us. They're just going to sit in their own territory and be completely useless. Let's make sure to pick up the next Miltech, of course. We can get a couple allies out of this war. Actually, I can just full annex you. Oh, right, you were the original Conquest goal, weren't you? I guess that means that's a normal price. Okay, well, we'll start coring that then. But then there are other allies, like this guy, you can barely even see him. So you can leave. This guy we can actually just fully annex. They're not too expensive. Okay, what else can we do? We could pick up... Oh, actually, I know what I'm going to pick up. If we go over to Seeking Support, we can lose 10 aggressive expansion and get 20% improved relations and reduced subject liberty desire for the next 10 years. -10 aggressive expansion is pretty solid from one ability. Now, we could get -20 if we had a different doctrine, but we don't, so we just have to live with this. Now, before we end this war, it's in our interest to sell titles. It'll give us a whole bunch of money to work with, and then on top of that, because we're conquering a bunch of territory, we're going to get a lot back. First, we should just check on any allies we can get rid of. Oh, we can just fully annex you. Okay, cool. We could also just fully annex you. That's kinda cheap. Although I wonder if it's like too expensive. Turns out the cost is the exact same. Well, except that that would bring me over 100% overextension. Like this peace deal here exactly is 64.8% overextension. And we have 35.2. So we should have exactly 100, which means we don't get the penalties. So I will use this menu, but I'm going to keep you alive. And then from the Raj, we're going to take this territory and we're going to steal a little bit of money. Beautiful. Exactly 100% overextension. On top of that, we can take some land back, so it's like we never seized or sold off any crown land in the first place. I could pay off my loans, but there's not much of a point. We might as well wait for them to expire. And surprisingly, people don't even hate me that much. That's cool. Now, I think it would be best for us to create a couple of trade companies in here. There are a lot of trade nodes, a lot of money in particular that we'd like to have. Oh, I'm an idiot. I completely forgot. We have no Diplo rep. It's -4. We cannot integrate our subjects. Oh, that was so dumb of me. I completely forgot. Okay, well, we will fix that at some point. Now, you might think with 100% overextension, we should stop conquering. But you would be wrong, because we still need to conquer these guys before they ally anybody else here. Finally, we will pick this up. Just not too sure what I want to spend it on. Espionage isn't a bad pick for us. Diplo would be decent as well. Yeah, we'll take espionage. Now, we can begin demonsterization. I think that's probably a good idea. It's gonna take a while. I'm pretty sure it's part of this mission tree anyway, so we might as well get started. Just gonna wait for these cores to be done for the most part. Also, I'm gonna pick this up, and then we'll take this to go into negative Diplo. Alright, and with most of these cores done, we're just gonna go ahead and bump up 1 stability. Then we'll annex you. Alright, so most of this territory over here is not particularly suitable to have as a full state. I mean, it wouldn't be bad, but I kind of want this to be a trade company. Well, it wouldn't be bad, it would just like cost a lot of admin and a lot of governing capacity. So, we're still going to spend the governing capacity, just not the admin. We're going to turn it into a state, but not core it. It's just going to be a half state. So we get half the stuff without paying the admin. Now we can finally finish this off. The Saralzweers have long stood as a bastion of Sun Elven rule in Bulwar, and before that were able servants of Jaher, with Aledas I being one of his most esteemed governors, fine targets for the wrath of Siadan. By burning the city to the ground, we will send a message to all of Bulwar that we are not to be messed with, and that like their precious phoenixes, Siadanlan has returned stronger than ever. We lose 5 war exhaustion, super useful since we have quite a bit of it. Sariand loses 12 development and gains 50 devastation, and in exchange we get 150 crowns and 200 of each point, plus 25 years of harsh treatment cost reduction. And then of course we upgrade our crest of Ishtara. Now we actually do have one additional promoted culture. We're going to promote the Sandfang Knolls, and we're going to swap out of Jazub cult. I think the new Sun cult is contributing a little bit more to the overall unity, so we're going to swap this. And because we've accepted the Knolls, we can actually convert them. We have finally reached a point where we make positive income each month, so we're a little less obligated to keep on conquering just to survive. That being said though, we still might, after I do this, so we can get some more money, and then we could just walk over here. We don't have a truce with this guy. Now, they are relatively strong. They have Buvari. Of course, they make infinite money. Arokellen is also, like, medium strong, sort of. So, actually, I might go ahead and build another army. Ooh, okay. You know what? I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, minus 20% aggressive expansion. Sounds good. Now, as it turns out, doubling the size of the army costs a little bit of money, so I was wrong. We're actually going to have to keep on conquering. Anyway, time for us to invade this guy. That is probably going to chew through manpower, which is not ideal, but I think it kind of is what it is. We're going to try to make this quick, especially since I have to ask for military access. Well, you guys don't hate each other, so maybe they'll ask for me. But yeah, we're going to try to not chew through manpower. Okay, what are we getting from this? I think it would be cool to pick up a new religious thing. Obviously, we're going to get more manpower. Okay, I think the enemy has figured out how military access works, so we're gonna have to go move some troops around. Request for knowledge sharing from the command. Listen, man, we're friends, but we're more like friends of convenience, you know? I don't think I actually want to share you any institutions. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to kill each other at some point. Could call the command into this. I think I'm more interested in asking for money, though. Thank you. Considering I've been stack wiping like every single army we come across, I don't think it's going to be a very tough war. Harpies really are just kind of insanely good in the early game. Mid to late game, not as good as they could be. Okay, Buvari, we're really just here for war reps and money, so we'll take that. No, I have to say, going back to EU4 after playing EU5 for like 800 hours, I have to say the peace deal system just feels so much worse. Like, I know for a fact if I were playing EU5, this peace deal would already be accepted. Okay, here we go. So, we can get war reps and full money and this stuff, because I don't really care about their colonies in Sarhal. Have fun. Okay, we have actual money to spend on actual things, like building something in the capital. Probably a barracks. That'll get us a lot of manpower. And we can build workshops, maybe like a bit of tax, maybe one marketplace like here, maybe a second one here. Ooh, I hate this event so much. Okay, please no stab hit. That's lovely. Alright, well, just decreased inflation. Time to spend more admin, I guess, after this is done. Oh, right, we can do this. There we go. Now that we have less inflation, we should build more things, maybe. It's funny how, like, every building I can build that's worth something is built over here. Every other territory we have is so broke. I rule over nothing but sand. Alright, Cores Accord, we're gonna pick up a stability. I probably should start to boost these just so that they can go to the capital. I think it would be nice if I could also divert trade for these guys and then, I don't know, placate. A lot of my trade power is actually being stolen. Actually, a lot of it's being stolen by Segdir. Now, I wouldn't mind invading them just to expand my subject, but also Greedy Grin is kind of in the way here, so actually, why do you have no claims? I feel like you should have claims. If you could go ahead and get some for me, that would be nice. Because yeah, we're losing a lot of money here, and it's mostly just the Segdir and my subject. How are you even calling me in against the Raj? I have a truce with these guys. You can't do that. That has to be illegal. There's no way, man. not particularly fond of the command right now. This is so dumb. All I had to do was wait like 1 year and then I could have a full war against the command, or the Raj again. Brother, alright man, listen. I am going to say yes to this only because I kind of need to remain allied with them for the time being. And really, I just need 3 provinces. And then I get a permanent claim, and then I can take more stuff. Oh, of course I'm not even at war with this guy. Of course I'm not even at war with this guy. Why would I be? Okay, yeah, I actually am gonna pick this up. Now, for the religious action, colonialism did spawn in, so we might as well start spawning that ourselves. Oh, actually, yeah, what we should do is probably build a roost in here. We already have a roost there technically, but for some reason it doesn't count for the extra colonialism that we get. But because we have a roost here and we have one here, we could like develop here, here, and here for institutions just to make them faster. I guess I just have to do this first. All right, yeah, our units, they kind of suck, these ones here. Total of 5 pips. Let's get something better. Okay, we're gonna go with the shock ones then. We do have a little bit of the player debuff, so I think around 75,000 troops are like right here. Might as well pick this up as well. Ooh, they also got a 7%. That's the other player debuff. Fortunately, because they're doing that whole thing where they just abandon their homeland, we do get to chase them down, and they're just gonna slowly bleed to death in the desert with no return province. So when we do catch up, we do get to stack wipe them, and that's nice. Man, I feel so dumb. Like, I should have been able to predict all of this. I should have been able to predict that I would not be able to take the capital, that I would not be able to get enough war score because the command would get free occupations while I have to fight for my life. Because, like, that's literally what happened last time. And yet, for some reason, I'm like, nah, I can probably take the capital and then steal it in the war and then shatter the Raj and then come back. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm gonna cut my losses because there's genuinely no reason to stay here. Like, I should have peaced out in the first 12 months immediately. And now there's like a little worm in my ear saying like, just truce break them. Because I just want to finish this mission. I just want to finish the mission, you know, be able to shatter the Raj and then come back. And like, honestly, I'm heavily considering it. I don't know. 5 stability may very well be a small price to pay in exchange for my sanity. But who knows, maybe the command will force them to release some subjects. They did do that last time. In fact, that actually reminds me, I can go to war with this guy. So maybe not all is lost, it's just kind of annoying. Alright, let's assess the damages. Oh, they didn't even separate piece the Raj. They didn't even separate piece the Raj, man. That's frustrating. Alright. Oh, that's crazy, right. Age of Monsters, we've just now gotten one thing we can pick up. This one's actually pretty good though. An event that scales based on the amount of human and elven provinces owned by us or our subjects. It's pretty decent. And we already have like minus 35% aggressive expansion, so I'm not too concerned about that. Okay, war with you. I'm not calling in the command because I kind of don't like you right now. Alright, this guy up here, full money in war reps because he is a subject still. So we'll just conquer him later. I actually didn't even realize I'm at war with this guy. But that's pretty convenient for me because we're just going to have to take all of it. There we go. We get the benefit from our little ability here. 40 of each point plus 150 crowns. Pretty good deal. We'll grab everything, but we'll do it this way so that we don't have to pay the, what is it, 50 Diplo? Yeah, I don't want to pay that. Now, on top of that, we do also have to go to war with this guy. No truce, no allies, super easy. Okay, 2 things. 1, command, you are really getting on my nerves, bud. If I were not forced to ally you by the mission tree, we would not be friends right now. Secondly, this roost is done, so we can start developing this soon-ish, maybe. It is rather cheap to develop. Second religious action, I mean, I'm just going to keep on spamming it, really. Every time I click this button, it's pretty much just free points, if you really think about it. Alright, I'm leaving this. Alright, the truce is finally over with the Raj. Excellent news. We're just quickly going to do a couple of things. Let's not forget what our objective here actually is. Actually, let me just do this real quick. Didn't realize you were that upset. My bad. Well, it's not that many people, it's fine. Actually, can I already make this? It's pretty cheap. Okay, well, no, I don't want to do that. What I actually want to do is upgrade some of these. All of them are under siege. Perfect. Okay, well, I need to upgrade them to level 2. We're going to do that first. Okay, let's not forget what we're here for. We want to declare war on you for monstrous conquests. We're going to fight, I guess, all these guys. Okay, let me just siege the capital real quick. Not that it really matters, I think. But let's see. Is anybody actually loyal to you? Your Synapthi are. Actually, most subjects are. I wonder if that's because, like, they just got absolutely annihilated. Maybe. Well, actually, the Raj itself is quite large. They own this stuff over here. Another day of being glad I picked up good siege ability. Okay, stack wipe after stack wipe after stack wipe. Very nice. Let's start by annexing this guy just so that we can get a little bit of that overextension to tick down. Well, not tick, but you know what I mean. It's actually more important because that lets us finish this mission off for a permanent claim on the rest of the stuff we plan to take. Once the Siadan Harpies claimed control of the entirety of the Paravimvara mountain range, the humans of the Gan-Keden lived in fear of Harpy raids, and queens of Siadanlan, Ishtara Ivory Feather among them, descended from the mountains and waged war against the lords of Rahem. While the destruction of Siadanlan ended this situation, it is now time to rectify our position across the Paravimvata. It is time we conquer Gan-Keden. It's a shame we did pick up most of this stuff before we actually got the claims on it, but it is what it is. Oh, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, you know what? At least we finished the mission. At least we finished the mission. All we have to do is take this stuff, okay? Screw you, the command. You were maybe useful for like one war, and other than that, you got in my way every other time. My only regret is that we're not going to have enough time in this video for me to feel the vindication that I will get from burning down your capital. Now, I do get a choice. Like, I could take the capital here, and I think that would shatter the Raj, but then I'd have to wait like 15 years to finish the next mission. And actually, once I say it out loud, never mind, we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna take what I need. Can't fully annex this guy, but frankly, I don't think I want to take that much overextension. This is fine because I can drag some back home, but yeah, nothing more than this. Look at that. My name is big, which means I'm winning. Let's go. Alright, let's drag a little bit of development back home. And then once these three are done coring, we should be below 100%, so that's fine. Of course, we'll just make sure to turn that into a trade company. Alright. We've conquered the lands that Ishtara Ivory Feather once held in Rahem, but even still, this is not enough. As the Raj fractures under our advance, the city of Rayavashapal and the remainder of Rakadesh lie open to the taking. No more will the Harpies be relegated to the fringes of Rahem. Let us march right up to the gates of Denijansar, so the Raja and his petty lords will know the power of Siadan. We lose 5 war exhaustion, that's quite nice. We get 10 years of technology cost and institution embracement cost reduction. Of course, we upgrade the crest to level 4, and then we get to finish this mission off as well. It is done. Siadanlan is restored. Our glory knows no bounds, our legacy and status is reassured. It is time to end our endless march at last, as our battle cry takes on a different meaning. No longer one of hope, of future prospect and glory, but one of pride, of truth, and of the power we have seized for ourselves. For Siadanlan, the old matriarchy reformed. For the age of Siadanlan. We lose another 5 war exhaustion, and for 25 years, we get -4 national unrest, +1 yearly prestige, and +1 yearly legitimacy, while we change our name to Siadanlan, and we get another event plus new missions. Since it's the last event we're going to take a look at today, I will read it in full. Matriarch Lizzie I, a simple matriarch no longer, shook her head as she read the reports on her desk. Siadanlan had only just been reformed, and it seemed as if it were falling apart. She had expected some shock from laying down the march, but this? Across the realm, the people of Siadanlan were rebelling against their rulers, the military was overstretched, outdated, and struggling to acclimatize to a realm at peace. And officials across Siadanlan's new territories were beginning to understand just how woefully unprepared a marching administration was for civilian rule. Siadanlan had been plunged into a true malaise, and though the euphoria of reclaiming Siadanlan's lost glory had calmed the waters somewhat, anyone could tell that this was only temporary. She wondered how it had come to this. Siadan had seemed to be on an unstoppable ascent, but it was as if its wings had been clipped as soon as they pierced the clouds. Was it Siadanlan's destiny to fall just as quickly as it had risen, like the Temple of Jaher? The thought alone was a terrible one, but she could not ignore it. The matriarch slumped back in her chair and sighed. Marches Siadan had, in truth, been nothing more than a nomadic horde, sweeping away the top-level states that stood before it, while maintaining the customs and, in many cases, local rulers of the people they conquered. To the majority of its subjects, the glorious Siadanlan was merely those garrison Harpies who came around every so often to collect their taxes and steal their possessions, claiming tribute. And to the majority of the Harpies, their possession of the state amounted to a mandate to act as they so pleased. That had to change, and so Siadanlan had at the change as well. Matriarch Lizzie I set aside the reports and opened a map of Siadan, commissioned more for vanity than any practical purpose, though it would certainly serve one now. Her eyes crossed the cities and towns and provinces of her realm as she looked upon every venerable state Siadan had reduced to ruin. The Phoenix estates of Azkasur and Sariand, the militaristic zealotry of Jadar, the sea-born traders of Avavubia and Davharal, the families of Gankadin, the debaters of Rayavashapal, and she knew what was to be done. Siadan had to modernize, to adopt the practices and policies of its vanquished enemies and make them great under Harpy wings, as it once did the Jadar and his quest for glory. The realm faces as dire a challenge as Astarta once did, and if we are to survive, we must embark on a march of a different sort. We will forge a realm that stands eternal. Okay, so couple of things, a couple of bad things actually, that I wasn't anticipating. We lose our marching administration, and for the next 10 years, we get stability cost increase, province war score cost increase, admin efficiency decrease, which might be bad for the overextension. Siadan on the march is also removed. We get malaise after the march for the next 10 years as well, so minus 20% manpower recovery speed and minus 10% movement speed. But we do get some new missions. So yeah, that's gonna hurt the old overextension a little bit. Not ideal, because we're not gonna get rid of 25% here. We might have to look into concentrating a little bit more development maybe. That should do it. Now, we could decide to finish this mission and continue, but I think at this point the video is already long enough. We've reforged Siadan, so I think we have a natural stopping point. If you guys do want to see a part 2 to this, then all you have to do is leave a like on this video. I won't lie, whether or not I make another part is kind of vibes-based these days, but there is certainly a lot to explore in this mission tree. We have barely scratched the surface, and having played some of it already myself a couple of years back, I can tell you it is quite interesting narratively. We have this whole section here, and then another whole section down here, so we might even have a natural stopping point for a second part, pick it up for a third part. I mean, maybe. We'll see. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Glad to be back on Anbennar after the past couple of months of really focusing on EU5. We might have a little bit of back and forth, some EU5 videos, some, let's be honest, it's just going to be Anbennar at this point. If I do play EU4, it's pretty much just going to be Anbennar. They are working on it for EU5, but I don't know exactly where that is right now or how that's going to look when it comes out. You know for sure that when it does, I will be there no matter what, so look forward to that. But for now, thank you very much for watching once again, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much to the Patreon members for this month who get early access to videos for as low as $1. But some of them decide to donate more than that, so I'd like to give a very special thank you to Erica, Baby Cow, Borderline All-Star, Gallo4, Gorka Maistegi, Lika Becker, Mikhail Sample, Nick Steffel, Princess Rhea, Q-Brute, Spiro, Tillman Augustin, AG Forero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, Torvalved, Ambient Cyan, James Levy, Luke78776, Stalin DLRP, and Robert.